In this section, we're going to be looking at adverse childhood experiences. I want to first recall and have you remember that you learned in earlier modules that behavior is communication. Really, we really want to think about that behavior as an expression of a need. Our job as adults is to figure out what that need is, meet that need in an empowering way so kiddos can really close the gap on what their nervous system is doing and how they can respond to other things in the future. Let's look at where this behavior began, the thing that you're seeing right in front of you that you has you scratching your head. Where did the behavior begin? Sometimes you might know what that history of that child is. Sometimes you might not have any clue. Myself as a therapist, I sometimes get the entire picture of information. Sometimes I don't get anything. And this is really hard to be able to move forward. Depending on your role, you might have some information, you might have not enough information, but just the very fact that you know that every person you deal with, adult, teenager, or child, has a history of some kind. That history and those experiences will definitely have an impact on the way that later on in developing years, adolescence, and then emerging adulthood, you will impact or interact with people later on. That will have an impact. Keeping yourself mindful that there are histories that kids experience, and those kids will someday be adults. Let's look at this landmark study that was done between the years of 1995 and 1997, done with 17,000 participants. Those participants were really from a cross-section of middle-class American adults. This was done with the Division of Violence Prevention at the CDC. They created a questionnaire out of it, but there are 10 different things that constitutes an adverse experience. These can be things that classify themselves in a couple of different categories, like physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional, physical neglect or abuse, and just overall violence in the home. Some examples of these can be substance misuse within the household. Even a child observing any substance use within the household too is an ACE. Intimate partner violence can be an adverse experience. Incarcerated household members, even parental separation or divorce also constitutes as an adverse experience. ACEs are common. These aren't things that happen over there or in this part of the state or over in that city. ACEs are common. About 64% of US adults reported that they had one ACE at least by the time that they were 18. Nearly 1 in 6 reported that they had experienced 4 or more ACEs by that time. ACEs can have lasting effects on what happens later on in adulthood. There's a graph on this slide that has risk for negative health and well-being outcomes on the vertical axes, and then on the horizontal axis is the number of ACEs. You can see here that as you increase the number of adverse experiences that you've had, you have risk for having more negative outcomes. You'll see here that those who have 4 or 5 have almost a guaranteed result in adulthood that they will have something that would affect their health, other behaviors, or even their life potential. Some things that can affect your health are overall obesity, suicide attempts, depression, heart disease, cancer, even broken bones. Behaviors could be smoking or other drug use, life potentials like graduation rates, academic achievement, and even lost time from work. Those are all and could be a result of adverse childhood experiences given this landmark study that was done.